Hi, Martinez here. I'm going to show you the basics of starting our practice painting with acrylics. So, first of all, we want to make sure we have our materials. Important, have some paper towel nearby, right? The next one is we have a palette, and this is a palette. We don't have to use necessarily this one, but this is one that we can use to mix and store our paints in. A variety of different brush sizes and shapes, have them nearby, right? We want to have a nice big cup of water so that we can rinse our stuff off in there, okay? And we're going to start out with some colors. So here are our primary colors, red, yellow, blue. And then this is black. Ivory black, and here's a big thing of white, block out white. To start our painting, we're going to be using a monochromatic palette. That means one color with black and white. Okay, so I clean up my palette fairly well, and for my painting I'm going to start out with my example using blue. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just squirt like a lot of blue. And this is important, right? So that's an awful lot of blue because I know I'm going to get a lot done. You might not want to squirt quite as much blue out. If you do, keep in mind that you want to keep it wet, especially if the heat's up. You see also here that separation, okay? That acrylic paint had been sitting in that tube for a while. It's separated. That's the binder. And we need to mix that up really good. So I'm going to take my palette knife and I want to first make sure that the binder there is really mixed up with that paint. So if we don't have the binder mixed up, we could end up having flakiness, and that's not fun. Okay, I'm making a mess. Selected a close-up of our model. I don't think that the image is big enough to get all of it in here, but we're going to be looking for areas of light, like the window would be light, and then darker areas like her sunglasses. Okay, so we're going to start in. All right. So now I've got some basic values down, right? Really the darkest part I have here are these sunglasses and the hair. And I've got, you know, a range of light tints, that's the color mixed with white, and shades, that's the color mixed with black or almost solid, okay? So my next step is I want to determine where are some highlights and some shadows. And those are going to be very important before I really start doing any detail work on this, okay? So I'm going to start looking for, if this is my light source, right? Then the light is coming sort of from the back side. So I want to make sure I have highlights over here along these edges here, and then over here there should be shadows. So we'll do that, speed it up. Okay, so you can see that adding the highlights, like in the hair and over here, and then adding areas of shadow is really giving more of a 3D modeling to my face here. Okay, so now the next thing we want to think about is we're going to start to bring in color and we're going to start to bring in detail on our painting. And then a couple of things we want to make sure about that. First of all, as a rule of thumb, and keep in mind these are all just like general suggestions. I do want you to explore and try things and experiment on your own. But as a rule of thumb, you want to start with the background first and then finish with the foreground. So the background is our window and the foreground is our model, the thing that's closest to us. So I'm gonna speed up again and we'll do the background. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is, again, general rule of thumb, light colors first and then build the darker colors on top. But again, these are just suggestions. I want you to freely express yourself and explore and be creative and not feel that anything has to happen, but you can try to just find the ways that work best for you. Okay, so we're going to speed up. Also, I'm going to mention that my paper is starting to curl, so I am going to tape down the corners a bit, so that's going to happen. Okay, so I've done my background, and you can see it's pretty rough, but that's fine. I'm not like making a great realistic masterpiece, but you can see how I built the layers on top. And as I said before, the general rule of thumb is light colors first, but also you have to think about what's furthest back into what's more up front. So even though the edges of the trim of the window has lighter colors in it, I built that up over the background because the background I wanted to get done smoothly. Okay, so now I'm ready to start going in finally to my face and clothing of my model. So a couple of things you want to think about when you're painting skin. And this is going to sound really weird, but old masters use this trick of, so to paint somebody so they look kind of alive, you want to use red and green because you want to think about how through your veins blood is pumping, and you know the sort of green is the veins, right? It gives little greenish tints here and there, but also we tend to have areas of sort of red, particularly around the edges or where things bend. Right, so we want to put those in, and even if we have somebody who has darker skin, we want to do that. So I'm going to paint her with somewhat darker skin as well, so that you can get an idea of that. So take a look how that's going. Okay.